Send me your location, let's focus on communicating, 'cause I just need the time and place to come through. Send me your location, let's ride the vibrations. I don't need nothing else but you. At times I wonder why I fool with you, but this is new to me, this is new to you. Initially, I didn't wanna fall for you, gather my attention, it was all for you. So don't take advantage and leave my heart damaged.
My name is Kern Carter, and I'm the author of Beauty Scars. It's a good question. Okay, so really, I mean, the idea of Beauty Scars came from being on Queen Street, like really like living on Queen Street for a long time. That's like really where it started from. So my friend Steve lived down here first. So just coming to his apartment, seeing him and his roommate, running around on the streets and whatnot, Queen Street and whatnot, going to like different condo parties and going to different bars. It just kind of sparked like an initial kind of interest, like, oh, this is kind of cool, like I'd like to talk about this. But then like I was doing that in articles and stuff, so it wasn't really anything yet. The girl I was with, like she was, and she would say this too, so I'm not going to say anything that she wouldn't say, but she was really vain, and she was really into beauty, and she was really into like herself. I felt like that was really kind of like a representation of a character that I could create, from being on Queen Street in Toronto, and from having this like really vain girl that I was dating at the time, and being like, how can I bring these two together? I just started taking notes. For like a year, I'll just take like notes if I was on the subway and something happened. If I was outside at the park and I saw something, you know what I mean? Like everything kind of sparked a note, but not for myself. Like it sparked like notes for the character I was creating. This would be a cool thing for my character to experience, like being on the subway and having someone stare at you. You know what I mean? Because you're really pretty. So I'll be on the streetcar or something, and I'd see this girl that was like really attractive. I'd be like, oh, what would my character feel if someone was staring at her on the subway or on the train? You know what I mean? Like that's how it kind of happened. Like all those things started happening more and more. The more I got into it, the more like the story started to expand. So it wasn't just like a story about vanity, because by this time I broke up with my girlfriend. So it wasn't a story about vanity, just a story about self-love, and a story about like the concept and the perception of what it means to be beautiful. I didn't want it to be just about this pretty girl that lives in Toronto. That's boring. But yeah, like it kind of became its own thing. So when I actually started writing, at this point I'm just taking notes, like literally point form notes. When I actually started like writing the book, was like the end of 2015. I started writing the book. Like I pretty much had an idea of, or I thought I had an idea of how it was gonna go. I had the main character's name, her name was Treasure. I had that down already. But that's the only thing I had. I only had Treasure. I didn't have any other characters. So when I was writing it just from her perspective. I was like, I'm gonna write this entire book from the perspective of a girl, a young girl that came from far out of town and moved to Toronto, and blah 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 blah. That's when I tell this kind of cool story. Like most of the people that live here are not from here. Most of the people that live on Queen Street or in Toronto are not even from Toronto. Like downtown Toronto, they're from everywhere else but Toronto. Like they'll be from out of here, like London. There's very few people that are like born in Toronto and live in downtown Toronto. Very few people that I've met, I should say. I kind of want to tell that like internal migration story, like not coming from different countries, but like coming from different parts of Ontario or different parts of Canada and like moving to Toronto, because Toronto is that beautiful place that people kind of look at from outside and feel like, I want to be in Toronto. Initially the character's name was something different. It was like a French kind of name, like Colliette or something like that. Treasure came because of the first, like when I first started writing it, the first story that came out of it was how she got her name Treasure. Her mother told this like crazy story about her having her in the back of her father's car, the back of her husband's car. And she was so happy she had her, and when the first thing she realized when she had her was that her eyes were like sparkling green, like green emeralds or something like that. So she called her Treasure because her eyes reminded her of a treasure. Literally while writing the story, I didn't even know that was going to happen. I'm writing the story and I'm like, oh, this is how she should be born. Then I have to change her name. So I was like, okay, her name's Treasure. and that like killed it. That happened the first day of writing. I want to set the book in Toronto because I think we need books set in Toronto. Like, I'm from here, so like really my perspective is from here. Why not make that a part of not just like the story, but a part of like the actual like character? Like Toronto in the book is like a character. Like I talk about like actual spots in the city, actual spots in Queen Street, actual spots down in Fort York. I talk about things that people would recognize. The way I kind of speak about them are, it's almost like halfway cold. Like, only if you live in Toronto you'd understand it fully type of thing. Until after I wrote my book, I haven't even read a book that was set in Toronto that I really liked. Like, not one. You know what I mean? Then I read $15, this book called $15 I set in Toronto that was amazing. And like blew my mind, and I wish I read it before. When I read like so many of my favorite authors, Toni Morrison, Khaled Hosseini, who's like one of the first authors that like really blew my mind. When I read their books are set in places that like they're from, or their ancestors are from. A book called Rue is another Canadian book that's dope, but it's set in like Vancouver and I believe I want to say China if I'm not mistaken, or maybe it's Vietnam, but it's set from where these people have a perspective. So my perspective is Toronto. I've been here since I was 5 years old, so like why not tell a book specifically where not just like you're feeling like it's like a backdrop, but like it's an actual thing that needs to be noticed and needs to be acknowledged and that changes. That was important too because people that don't live in Toronto see Toronto as a thing to aspire to live in, like a place to aspire to live in. They come here with like dreams of making it kind of thing, you know, or dreams of at least having fun, having a really good time and being able to be something different or experience something different than they can in their hometown. To me, that's like a big deal. Like, why should we talk about that? Why can't I write about that? So, yeah, that's the main reason why. Oh, yeah, the artwork. I'm really into art. If you don't know me, I'm actually really into art. So, I mean, even in my first book, I had an artist. My favorite artist at the time was a Toronto artist named John Fitzgerald, and he was the one that did the cover for my first book, and it was like dope. So this time, though, I wanted to be a little bit more like engaging. So I had a contest with 2 art schools, specifically art schools and art students. The artwork is like something I'm really, really proud of and like happy with. A lot of people don't believe me when I tell them, or they're always surprised when I tell them that a 16-year-old actually designed the cover for my book. Her name is Lena Lamb, by the way. I always want to shout her out as much as I can. Her name is Lena Lamb. Check her out. I think her name on Instagram is 101 Art Faces, something like that. So yeah, definitely check her out. She won a contest. I had a contest where I got 2 art schools and I kind of put them together and said, hey, you guys, all the art students who wants to compete, the winner gets to be my book cover. So, I mean, we did the first round was on social media. I did it on Tumblr, so everybody submitted their pictures. I put it on my Tumblr, and I just had like my social media fans pick the top winners. So the top 5 from that, and then from the top 5, I chose the winner from the top 5. And then I like bussed the students down to Artscape, which is down the street from my apartment. They were excited, they were cheering, like it was the craziest thing. They could actually see a bunch of the pictures on my Instagram, and some of the images I got were insane. They weren't just like normal pictures, you know what I mean? Like they were just like, it was hard to pick this one. The back image on my page was actually shot by a photographer named Desiree Thomas, and she's really dope too. She came to my apartment, she brought a model, and it was like, I didn't even know, to be honest, I didn't know it was going to be the back cover image. We were shooting for something different. That just happened. Like once I saw the picture, I was like, no, this has to be the back image. And then she didn't even know until the book came out. She's like, that's my cover, that's my picture, that's my picture. I was like, yeah, that's your picture. So yeah, like, I mean, for me, art is art. Whether it's writing, it's drawing, it's painting, it's whatever that you do, taking photos, videos, it's all art. And for me, it's all exciting. Like, I love people who can just like have nothing, just have this idea in their mind and then just turn it into something like amazing. Like that is like the most amazing kind of thing to me, you know what I mean? Because it wasn't there just yesterday, you know what I mean? Like it was there at all. I actually genuinely like that, and for me, that I do that through my writing. I think what stuck out to me most is that I didn't even give these students anything to go on. My book wasn't even done yet when I did this. Like, I was doing it purely out of the fact that I just wanted to kind of get these students together and keep everybody excited about the book. But I gave them like the first sentence, and I was like, this is what the book is about in one sentence. So the first most amazing thing is that, like, Lena nailed exactly every single emotion about the book in that picture. Everything from the scars to it being like a little abstract, a little controversial, to it being like, she just like, the beauty part, she nailed it like top to bottom. There's nothing that she didn't get right. So I was just like, how do you look at this image and know exactly what I'm thinking in my head when I just gave you one sentence to go off? Although it was a difficult decision, like I had no choice but to pick that image. That image just spoke to me the most, like off the top. And actually when I was going through the social media process, I was like, I hope they pick this one because I'll be so mad if I can't even choose it. But the thing I focus on a lot, not in my initial like writing, but like is like rhythm, like the way you transition from one sentence to the next. I literally put myself in the readers like kind of like they're on their couch or on the subway, like when they're reading it, and I'm like, when they're reading these words, how's it gonna sound? So when I'm like writing it, I'll literally go like, like I literally do that, like I for real do like, how does that transition to the next sentence, and then how, and like I read it different ways, like they won't read the same words the same way. First words in my book are, an accident made me beautiful. How does that sound to them? Like how an accident made me beautiful. I could have said the accident made me beautiful. The car hit me and I had an accident. Like I could have said so many different things, right? But as much as words, because words do change rhythm, I really think about the actual rhythm of it. Like how does it play out? How does it sound? Like the same way like a songwriter would do it. You know what I'm saying? Like just to kind of think about it from that perspective. Because it matters. Like everything matters. Every little word matters, I think. That's like I kind of like hesitate. Like I love being an author, but I don't like the label of author because like anyone who puts out a book is technically an author. Put out a self-help book, you're an author, but you're not exactly like a writer. Like you don't care about the actual words, all you care about is the message. If you put out a book about how to make money, there's like millions of those, right? Really all you care about is a message in the book. You don't care about necessarily how it's written. Me, I care about how the book is written. Like I care about every word in the book. I care about the layout of it. I care about like sentence choice, like using the right verbs. Honestly, I just care. Like I just care more. Like that's the easiest way to put it. Like I just really care more. Like to me, I can't just put out a book and just say, here it is because it has a cool message. Yeah, I want them to enjoy all of it. You know what I'm saying? Like
No matter what.
No matter what. I actually think about the length of my book like that too. Like I don't purposely set out to write a book that's whatever amount of pages. However the story plays out, that's how many pages the book is going to be. My first book it's a novella, it's only 72 pages. You know what I'm saying? Like it's short. This book is more novel-like. I don't get caught up into the like how long or short does it have to be considered a real novel or to tell a full story. Like I just want to tell the story and you get the story. I think you have to let the story tell itself. I only had Treasure as a character. I didn't have anybody else. But if you read the book now, there are actually two main characters. There's Treasure and there's Justin. That wasn't planned. That happened because, I mean, once Justin entered the story, I felt like his voice had to be strong in the story, had to be a big part of the story. I didn't know that going in. I didn't have that plot set out. The way I thought the book was going to end, the book didn't even end like that. I thought the book would end a completely different way than it did. I didn't even anticipate having a touch of fantasy in the book. Characters are dreaming about each other, right? I didn't anticipate having that happen too. You have to step into it, like, but you dive so deep into it that you're like a character. You're so deep into it that the characters start talking to you. So like when I was writing, like I'm writing and I'm literally thinking like Treasure as I'm writing. Like I never ever forget it. Like I'm in my room or on my living room couch. I'm like, I feel like Treasure. Like I'm writing it in her words. Like I talk like how she would talk. So that's why when people always ask me like, how do you like write so well from a female perspective? I'm like, it's not exactly me writing it. I just know my characters really well. Like, I know what they feel. I know what they would feel if this happened. How they would react to any kind of situation that they get into. Like I just know for sure. As long as you kind of let the story tell itself and don't put your ego into it because you had an idea of what you wanted the story to be like, then it will work itself out for sure. I know some authors who talk about like dreaming about their characters. Some authors talk about like seeing their characters beside them. You know what I mean? They'll be on an airplane and their characters are so vivid in their minds that they can see them. I don't think I'm at the level where I see my characters, but I'm at the level where they're like completely implanted in my mind. Like I know her. Like she's a person. I mean, this is probably a little bit too much of a tell, well, I'll still say it anyway because it doesn't influence the story. But I actually don't describe what Treasure really looks like. Like, you could read the entire book and not know what she looks like. There's no description of Treasure, and the book is about beauty. Another reason I realized my books are not maybe as long as other authors is because, like, I don't go into like what I feel are unnecessary detail. Like, I won't say like, there's this white table and then there's this green couch and then on top of the ceiling is a fan swirling at, like, I don't even, if it's necessary, yes, but other than the necessary, I deal with like confrontations or the engagements or the interactions with the characters. That's what I really focus on, and that's what I want the reader to focus on, and then use their imagination. If you give readers a little bit of a leeway to use their imagination, they're more engaged with the book. They have more license to interpret the book as they go, rather than you telling them step for step what to think. You know what I mean? So I always leave tons of room for readers to be like, oh, it could go this way. Oh, it could be that way. Okay, like, I want them to feel that kind of liberty when they're reading any of my books. I think I'm gonna probably write like that. So, yeah. Yeah, I actually have 2 more books planned in this series. Like, Treasure's, like, for me is a big character, so I feel like the next book, I already have the name of the next book, which I'm not going to say right now, but I have the name of the next book for sure, and maybe even the name of the book after that, but definitely, yeah.
Cause I just need the time and place to come through. Send me your location, let's